Hey everybody, welcome back to X's for X for gaming, X is for show, X is for this guy driving a fantastic car. I'm Nico, and you guys can check me out at Nico Action, NICOATTION.
And I'm TK. You can find me at TK Accidental.
That makes me your producer, KEVO. You can check me out at KEVO Rayleigh. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment so we know what you want us to cover in the future. Today we will, be watching some Rivals gaming, shooting the breeze, as it were. Or what do we shoot in this?
Other
Bad
people.
guys. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Shooting the bad guys.
I know it's been a minute since we've done one of these, and it's really funny because I'm gonna peel back the layers for a minute. It's full wanderlust. On here on YouTube,
Great Bjork reference.
probably my favorite Bjork album ever.
Good choice. I agree. Anyway, okay, go.
I don't know if you remember, but we were horrid at our wedding to Earth Intruders.
Yes, I do. I was not there, but you know.
My favorite thing in the entire world is Rich going like this as it's happening. It's hysterical. I on here on YouTube, these rival streams, they do okay. On Twitch, they do okay. Whatever it is, our podcast audience that has been with us for like 5 years now, 6 years now,
who can't see what's happening and can't even hear it because I turned the sound off, the sound link off.
Yeah, they all get up on this game, and when we play it, they get really into it. So we're really excited because nothing's more fun than just coming together and being a family. And so that's what we get to do with this is a whole lot of fun. It's just really funny to me because I keep thinking there's got to be a metric to the madness.
Yeah, we were talking about it. I'm very curious to know.
And at the same time, I think one of the things that winds up happening is the longer you're with something like a product like this, the longer you wind up kind of being a part of it and then segmenting from it. It's really funny because what I love about, take a drink. What I love about Tori Amos records is that they're always different. Really, really record to record, they're different. You can say, Pretty Good Year has the same sonic structure as a lot of the tracks on Little Earthquakes with the key change for the B part and an upbeat major key. But you would still say it's a sonically independent sounding record. And I'm bringing up Tori today because happy 20th anniversary to my least favorite Tori Amos album. The Beekeeper is 20 years old today, and it is my least favorite Tori record by far. I gave up on Florence and the Machine because I actually thought that all of the records sounded exactly the fucking same, but just on a different keyboard setting. And
nobody was able to prove you wrong.
No, Tori, greatest human in the world. Tori, contributor, not Amos.
Yes.
That's the whole reason she fucking loves those records because they're all the same.
Yeah.
But so for me, I wonder if people are because we've lost and we've gained. There are people that I'll see 100 downloads of our first episode some months, and I'm just like, but the thing that always gets me is there's got to be people that are like, oh yeah, they Tori Amos, it's new every time, and then there's got to be people that are like, oh yeah, they Florence, it's the same.
Fair.
Because, dude, how long have you been on this show now? Because it's been since December, because you joined up for a holiday special in the first.
Yeah, I joined up December 2021. So I'm over 3 years now.
Yep.
And it's really crazy because the number of episodes at this point, we're well into the 500s. But it's because it's like a news periodical, and that had always been how I saw it once it became what it was, when it stopped being just responding to comic books in a very edited way. When it became people being alive on camera, I had really thought this is a periodical. I had really thought this is human reacting to human stimulus. And one of the things that kind of got lost in the sauce for a hot minute was just how fucking many comics got too hard, man. And I kind of gave up hope a little bit that we would ever be able to do it. But there's something really cool about this cross section of some of the stuff we're doing now. where, yeah, I'm definitely sad to have lost people like Democratic House nominee Josh. Could not be prouder of that human who is barely a human at this point. He is a crusader for justice.
He's upgrading.
Yeah, he is well beyond our capacity. And I certainly miss a number of other people. Like I hate that Jake doesn't come on more.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Jake being, TK's wonderful partner that we love so much. But the thing is, like, I love that now it's a little bit more focused, where like we kind of get to talk about what we want to talk about a little bit more focused because there's so fewer people.
Yeah. And we don't worry as much about trying to do 1 million Marvel comics a week.
It just gets too exhausting. And like, but that does kind of bring me to something I'm really excited to talk about.
Yeah.
They've announced that there's a couple of really cool things, and we already talked about one of them on air.
We did.
But they announced that number one, I want to find all of them. That okay, there's going to be those who cannot remember or doomed to repeat it or whatever. So we have this special thing coming up with a free comic book day. X-Men Giant Size kicks everything off with Giant Size X-Men number 1. Then we have Giant Size Dark Phoenix Saga number 1, Giant Size Age of Apocalypse, Giant Size House of M, and Giant Size X-Men number 2. I'll be really disappointed if Giant Size House of M doesn't make Blink a thing finally. That would be pretty disappointing. But it's shocking because Giant Size Dark Phoenix Saga has a new revelation about Jean Grey's fate that could change everything. I sure hope that that's by the writer of Phoenix. Or what the fuck is wrong with you people?
No, they're all by Hive Mind, I think.
I'm fine with that, but I hope it doesn't impact Stephanie's story. We're best friends. Stephanie, I'm just talking to Lady Gaga, my good friend, Abracadabra Queen. We are also getting Spider-Man and Wolverine number 1. It's going to be an ongoing written by the incredible Mark Guggenheim, drawn by the always incredible, but always really, really, really debated Kare Andrews, who is marvelously talented, but man, did he draw the ugliest penis in the history of the world on Peter Parker. Ugliest penis I've ever seen. Poor Peter Parker, yeah.
Poor Peter Penis.
We've also Spider-Ham. We've also gotten our first
Spider
ultimate right. Speaking of Fat Cock Friday, Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion is going to somehow involve Miles Morales and the Ultimate Universe. It looks like it's going to be a big, massive crossover event. And then we also have that Batman is going to relaunch after Hush, which again, I just need to keep stylizing it as HU2H. After Hush 2 ends in July-ish, Matt Fraction is relaunching Batman. I just want to point out this is the 4th ever Batman number 1. Let's be really clear about this. I'm not saying this is the 4th time there's a new book with Batman in it. No. This is the 4th ever Batman number 1.
That's crazy. I didn't really realize that.
Yep.
That's exciting.
Yeah, the current run is only number 3. Batman
Dang.
never renumbered in the entire history of the pre-Crisis universe. It renumbered post-Flashpoint, and then it renumbered again for whatever post Everybody Remembers Everything again. Stupid crossover one that one was. Infinite Frontiers, Ashley Furniture, whatever. And then this one's going to be the next number 1. And I love Matt Fraction. I love, gotta be careful about how I say this, but I love Sex Criminals. I love a lot of his really outrageous work. I love the way he's apologized for work that ultimately was a bit appropriative, and he comes to understand that and wished that there was more of, an Asian presence in the pages of Iron Fist. And, really a man who has earned my respect because he doesn't make a lot of foolish mistakes in the public stage. But when he does make a mistake worth talking about, he apologizes. His wife is incredible. I'm very pro Matt Fraction, but I don't want to keep putting people older than me on titles that need writers more younger.
Yeah. But We got some other announcements too.
Wait, did I miss some?
Zdarsky.
Oh, right. Yes, thank you. Because JMS, J. Michael Straczynski, will be leaving Captain America, and it's Zdarsky and who on Cap?
Zdarsky and Skeety.
On Skeety on Cap, which is going to be something else. I don't know. Unless it ties in Avengers Twilight, you I don't know, man. Got to pull in Twilight or just don't use Zdarsky. Also, he really fumbled the burl on the end of Batman for me.
I get it, but that might not have been him. Even you pointed that out. And then we've got Hickman doing Imperial, which
right.
I don't know if I care about.
Well, I mean, after Gods, how could you not?
Burn. Yeah, fool me once, Marvel.
Well, they just keep doing it, so I don't know. Not you, but
they do keep fooling me, but I shan't be fooled this time around.
Marvel do be fooling.
I'm not good with this map. Okay, here we go. We got Imperial, and then it was announced that Greg Pak is going to be writing Silver Surfer. And Greg Pak is somebody I love a great deal. So I am very excited about that. And Greg Pak also has not been at Marvel in a hot minute.
No, he's too busy having a beacon of light blue sky to latch on
he's one of the good ones. He was there early. He took it seriously. He got us where we needed to be with that, with kind of giving people resources, especially comics people. He's a big reason why comics people were able to transition over, which was so important when comics people started making, a stand when Twitter got insane in ways that we didn't know how that was going to blow up.
Right.
So anyway, I'm super excited to see him back at Marvel. I'm really excited to see him on Silver Surfer. He has written some great Hulk in the past.
And we got that great Amadeus special coming up.
Yes, we sure do. So yeah, I don't know. It's funny. Everything seems to be moving in a interesting, plausible direction. Unfortunately for me, except still for X-Men.
I was somebody absolutely out of control for no apparent reason. And when you've got that person in your life who you just wish would stop going out there and mentioning to everyone that how much you love Spider-Girl in the MC2 universe. Anyway, this person did that, and they did it on the Instagram of another phenomenal comic book podcast creator. And so I'm lucky enough to be good friends with Chad from Grey Malkin, and this guy over here, TK, led to Chad and I having an ongoing conversation about a number of X-related things lately, and some of the things going on. And I honestly got so excited about getting the chance to talk about him. What were we talking about 1 second ago?
Greg Pak being on Silver Surfer. And then how I don't like X-Men. I still am not liking the direction.
Oh, right. Thank you so much. Because we were talking about the fact that there were so many big X-Men things coming up. And that's actually how I got lost in my own thought, that it's almost impossible to recognize the start of post Krakoa year one in where things are. So I just want to say, I'm even cool with hearing you say that you still don't like what's going on, but I almost want to be but then you don't like two different things.
Okay.
What are the two different things I don't like?
What it was and what it is. Because it is no longer recognizably what it was when From the Ashes debuted in that terrible sampler. And I completely even get you not liking where things are, but it's so different than where it was when everything relaunched. Whereas a year into Krakoa, everything was so the same and still really doing that one thing that I feel it's a really interesting time, because I don't blame you. I don't think you're wrong for not liking it more, but it's interesting.
And I really agree with that. It is definitely different. I don't love where it is, and I did not love where it was. You're correct. I do dislike two different things. And it's not even like right now I don't dislike it. I'm just not excited. And I don't know. I find it weird to not be excited about X stuff.
Yeah.
The periods where I'm just not excited about anything are a little tough. Although I get, your enthusiasm did get me really excited about this giant size situation. I sort of, you were talking about how like we need to get some younger blood in the mix when it comes to writing, even when it comes to guys we like. And I kind of feel like they think Jackson Lanzig and Colin Kelly are the young blood. And don't get me wrong, they're not like Ancient Mariners or anything, but they're not, they're not really up and comers. It's like how everybody's a Stormbreaker, but the Stormbreakers are all like very established Marvel creators at this time.
I need them to stop pointing to Tom Holland as one of their young stars at Marvel because he collects Social Security. Calm down.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like I do think that it will be good. But I don't know, like even that, like your excitement made me a little less cynical about it. But it wasn't the most excited I've ever been, kind of for exactly that reason that I was just like, well, we have seen these guys before.
Well, and that I get. For me, where I get excited is like, I love and hate two stories the most. If you go back and you say to me, the thing that everyone forgot that happened between Uncanny X-Men 262 and 263 that will change the Marvel Universe. Okay, you've got two choices. Number one, you're either Chris Claremont being asked to fulfill your contractual obligation by writing some story that fits some back spot that we keep agreeing is going to wind up in some huge omnibus, or although actually I do think it's all omnibus padding, and I think what's going to happen is the Claremont year the omnibuses are going to get Fat Cock Friday'd and like bust wide open, and you're going to wind up with the first 5 Uncanny X-Men omnibus volumes becoming the first 10, because they're going to put in every story Claremont has put in retroactively. But then all of those stories, everybody just kind of goes, eh. Like today would have been Kurt Cobain's 58th birthday. If you liked Nevermind and voted for Trump, I have a feeling that Kurt Cobain would have hated you. And like who we were then versus who we are now, the way we look at the past, it's always fascinating to look at it through those lenses. And an event like this, it stands the possibility of looking at a time that I don't necessarily think like, I think there was a lot of time travel stories at Marvel for a minute. There was like Age of Ultron, there was Battle of the Atom, and I thought both of them were pretty terrible. And I thought both of them lacked story integrity. Like, I don't think they were the worst stories I've ever read, but like the internal integrity didn't really feel complete. Neither one of them really felt like they gave me a big picture. They both felt like they were meant to facilitate ideas. And even if this just facilitates ideas, that's all I ever thought Age of Apocalypse did. I understand how so many people think that Age of Apocalypse is this completely realized universe, but it's only a completely realized universe because you're comparing it to something else. It does not stand on its own without the Marvel universe to compare it to. If you look at it, you don't care that Xavier's dead. If you don't care that Xavier's dead. So no, Age of Apocalypse does not stand on its own because its entire pretense is that you care about the X-Men. So it's just an X-Men arc. It's not its own thing. This clearly does not plan on lying to you that it's its own thing. This just wants to be an X-Men arc. I love that.
You get it. I feel that. Yeah, and like I said, like, and this is one of the reasons I have always loved doing this show is because both, like, you can feed off your co-hosts just, like, energy hype, but also, like, you know, you got good co-hosts. They can explain to you why there's actually logical reasons maybe to, like, get it up a little bit and be excited. And, you know, every time you do that with this, it's you did it when we were talking about it last night and again today. So, like, yeah, I am excited. I I think it'll be very cool. I'll be very interested. The thing I said yesterday that remains kind of one of the things I'm most excited about is I think this will really be a big defining mark of, because, you know, I agree with your statement that this is different from where we started. But I also can see ways in which it's very connected. And so I think the time after this giant size could feel like really it is starting a recognizably different phase.
And one of the things that comes to my mind first with this being a different phase is that for my money, I've reached the point in the current Marvel cycle where we've hit the limit on what we're going to get from exactly what they're telling. And too often we see story periods kind of outlive their usefulness and people not realize that the modality is beyond its scope. Something that like, so KEVO and I, a little flashback information for you all. The love of my life before I met my husband was Julie Andrews. And when I discovered she was a little too old, I found her younger counterpart, Jennifer Love Hewitt, and that was that. And I have spent a good portion of my life tracking down Jennifer Love Hewitt childhood Japanese exclusive records and such. And like, she really actually is a celebrity that I care quite a bit about. No fucking reason why, but as a kid, I love her. And I still love her now. And husband is amazing. And hubby watched Party of 5 with me. He made it a real Party of 2, and it was wonderful.
It was
and
grand.
then when we what?
It was grand.
Yeah. And after we finished that, we said, well, what else has her? All right, 911. Let's watch that. The guys on that are hot. We like Ryan Murphy shows, and it turns out 911 was like the best choice we've made as a couple since Grey's Anatomy. Really great choice. We love everything about that universe. And so then we finished it, and we were really bummed out. And I just like literally was like, hey, you joked we could watch Ghost Whisperer. Let's do it. And so we put on Ghost Whisperer. And so now we are watching Ghost Whisperer. And one of the things that's really fascinating is we're watching it, and I, for the life of me, am more faced with the fact that too often we miss the things that define the culture. Like, I think this show is dumb. I think it's mostly aimed at a very specific type of, you know, white cat lady and gay that likes to stay home on Friday and watch Charmed reruns. Like, I think
And
it's
old.
a very like we like our big the big hoodies we like, dude, like the fuzzy hoodie. It's that.
That crowd, yeah.
But the canon on it is so fucking insane, and the chances they take, like, for a show that you would think is Judeo-Christian, it actually verges a lot more on genuine occult storytelling than things like Charmed does.
Everything about it gave an impression of it being a lot more Touched by an Angel, but it's a lot more Dead Like Me meets Charmed.
Yeah. And it came before a lot of shows that would come on to define genre, but we can't stop seeing things that a lot of other shows got credit for being brilliant and brave for doing. And when Ghost Whisperer did it, they did it just as seriously. They did it just as real. And I can't help but compare that to the Young Avengers. You know, they just turned 20 as well, as Beekeeper. Wow, what an influential year for me. So I'm thinking about how, like, the Young Avengers were antagonistically gay. They were an agenda, 2 gay dudes, 2 strong women, an incredible black character, a robot, basically. There were so many ways that the book was agenda based, for those of you who think that's a problem. But, like, for the record, people who complain about agendas, that is an agenda. It's just the opposite agenda. Saying, like, I don't want to hear you talk about people being gay. Okay, that's
Everybody
literally...
has an agenda. Yeah, exactly.
If
Everybody
you're saying,
has
I don't want to
things they
hear
want.
that, you're just trying to
Yeah.
control it your own way.
I've never met an artist that didn't want to put something of themselves in their art, and it's a lie if they're saying they don't. It's everywhere, and everybody does that. So everyone has an agenda, so to speak. If you want to call it that, that's what it is.
And so with the Young Avengers, I think about how then when with the current run of Avengers Academy, I was complaining that it's a little too willfully queer at times. It's because the Young Avengers did gay things between being superheroes.
Right.
I think Avengers Academy does superheroing between being normal gay people. And I don't like it when that's straight people either. But it goes to the heart. Yeah, but it goes to that heart of something that we talk about a lot on this show. Everybody gets their chance to talk about the art and make the art that they want to make that isn't exactly the highest form of the art. And so, I'm faced with Ghost Whisperer, I guess, did a low form of brave art early. And I compare it to shows that would go on to do, and I guess also in that category, I would like to put Teen Wolf. I would like to put Dollhouse. I would like to put these shows that try to do progressive storytelling. And I'm going to compare them to shows like, honestly, Heroes for its time, which did safe storytelling in familiar ways, borrowing storytelling elements, using traditional ideas like the blonde white girl is going to save the day. Everybody who's like, well, that subverted my expectations, I guess had never watched Buffy.
Yeah.
And so I ultimately really can't stop thinking about, I am very influenced by some really obscure stuff like Point Pleasant, and TK, you are too. You're influenced by equally obscure things. It's always those obscure things that wind up being Twin Peaks, which we find in Gilmore Girls, we find in Ghost Whisperer, we find in Desperate Housewives, we find in Grey's Anatomy, we find in 911. We find Twin Peaks everywhere. That show did not succeed in its merit. And so I'm just really fascinated to know which things we don't realize have succeeded yet that did.
Yeah, I mean, when you start getting the references later and you realize that people were watching that you never realized were watching, that's kind of when it's really exciting.
And that's something about watching this too. It kind of feels like we keep wondering, did some of the people that we feel did stuff like this later? Were people secretly watching Ghost Whisperer and we had no idea?
Yeah.
And I think about how when you're examining the scope of sales, when you're examining the scope of things that were successful, KEVO and I have had conversations about TV film hybrid projects. They're successful for a week and then they fall off. Fight the Future, Serenity, a lot of film tie-ins to movies. I'm sorry, a lot of movie tie-ins to TV shows, popular for a second. The reason that winds up being important to talk about is it's easy for X-Files to be the number one movie of the week when it's the number one TV show of the week. It's harder to be the number one movie the third week. And so when we look back on talking about products and programs and when we talk about decades, when we talk about the 60s, we're talking about really the last couple of years of the 60s because the Beatles are the 60s. And we associate the 60s with flower power, but that didn't really start till 67, 68. So when you're talking about these sort of modalities and the way people talk about television and what was the dominant television show of 2005, I think a lot of people like to say that they watched Grey's Anatomy the first season. No, you fucking didn't. You did not watch Grey's Anatomy the first season, just like you didn't watch Seinfeld the first season, just like you didn't watch Breaking Bad the first season. So many of these shows would come on to, or acts or styles would come on to define an experience. But the chances that these people were all in on the ground floor, Everybody Loves Raymond was the least watched show in its time slot. Many weeks its first season. Same with Seinfeld. Same with Grey's Anatomy. So it's impossible that everybody was doing those things. The right people were. And it would come on to influence conversation in water cooler ways.
I think it's tough for Grey's because the fact that it was 9 episodes at the the last Thursday in March to the end of May. So really just 2 months. That season, it's almost like the OC's season 0.
And The Office season 1.
Well, that's literally what it aired concurrently with.
Wow.
Was The Office. Yeah, that's that thing I always talk about, where I want to talk next month about March 2005.
And it's like 6 episodes of The Office season 1.
Yeah, but like, because that is so weird, and because Grey's Anatomy season 2 had 27 episodes, I think a lot of people sweep season 1 into season 2 sometimes. Because this was also that, back in the Wild West of television still, as we were entering the frontier of having video on demand and streaming episodes where this didn't come out on DVD until the middle of season 2. So there weren't really repeats in the way that we have them now, where you can watch it anytime on streaming. So a lot of people conflate season 2 with season 1 now, maybe. But yeah, it's much more likely that a lot of people weren't watching those first 9 episodes and then caught them the summer after and are like, that's the same thing.
It's really funny that you bring up that they probably didn't have access to the DVDs, and for a number of shows that is true, and for a number of years that was true. I specifically remember Veronica Mars, Desperate Housewives, Lost, Grey's Anatomy, all like so many of that year's shows. The DVDs dropped the Friday or Tuesday before the premiere.
Oh, not Grey's Anatomy. Grey's Anatomy came out Valentine's Day 2006 because my mom got it me for Valentine's Day. So I know that's the day it came out.
I specifically remember Desperate and Veronica Mars and House.
They came out at the end of August. Yep.
Such that I was able to be caught up for the premieres.
Yep.
And so I remember that, and Lost came with that special bonus disc that when I would eventually go on to sell my Lost set, it was so funny. I sold my Lost DVD set because I had the special edition with the bonus disc, and I contacted a friend of mine and I was like, hey, before I sell this, I would love to give it to you because I know you're a big Lost fan. And he's like, well, how much is it worth? And I was like, oh no, it cracked. When I was looking up how much it's worth, I broke it. And now I can't give it to you.
Oh, Nico.
Don't look at my eBay account, though. I have to go not list a broken. I have to go.
Rude.
And he was like, how much, though? And I was like $125 just for the disc, not even for the season set. And he was like, if you gave it to me, it would be worth more than our friendship. So I was like, all right. So I sold it and bought a bunch of other stuff with it. Actually, I did buy the Lost Complete series special edition island box with hidden compartments with the money from selling my Lost with the bonus disc.
Wild.
Also, my mom one time when she heard that my mom likes to buy me surprises. She's nuts, and she would go onto eBay and just he said he likes the OC complete series lot.
I was literally gonna bring that one up,
and she sends it to me, and it's all 4 seasons.
So we had that rectangular one that looked like the pool, yeah.
But before that, she sends me all 4 seasons individually,
and shrink wrap.
They're shrink wrapped and they're unopened. And so I go to like a Sam Goody or whatever. And I'm like, hi, I have these unopened. They were a gift. She said she got them at the mall. Can I exchange them here? And they're like, well, if they're open, they're used. If they're sealed, they're new. And so I was like, they're sealed. And so she scans them and they're like, oh, well, they're the original edition. So they're coming up their original price. 80 for season 1, 70 for season 2, 60 for season 3, 50 for season 4. You've got $300 something in store credit. Go crazy. And so I grabbed the complete series for $80 and then bought a bunch of other stuff. I can now see how brick and mortar stores went out of business because of me.
Yeah.
But
so you guys have not started Yellow Jackets yet, right?
No, and honestly, the reviews are so up and down. I know I'm gonna, and I'm not gonna not, but the reviews are so up and down.
I have been exceedingly happy with it. for what it is worth. More Lauren Ambrose content never hurt anybody. I feel like I know who Hilary Swank is going to play when she eventually shows up.
Oh no, more Lauren Ambrose content did hurt somebody once, but that was Russell T. Davis and Jane Espenson's fault, not Lauren Ambrose.
Oh no,
Normally,
what was it?
That's correct. Torchwood Miracle Day. Awful.
Oh yeah, true.
Even her character. But otherwise,
I thought you were going to say
to yell for a second about Miracle Day.
I'm sorry, guys. I thought you were going to say something terrible and scathing about the return of Jezebel James.
No,
but I guess there can't be 3.
Value. There can't be 3. Jezebel James has more value than Miracle Day, and that action pack is a statement that holds more weight than most of you can ever understand. What were we even talking about? Lord Ambrose, Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, so Yellow Jackets is back on. I'm having fun with episodes? It. What's that?
Do we know how many episodes this season?
I believe
10.
8.
Oh, I thought it was 10.
Ooh.
I could be wrong.
I thought it was supposed to be 3 seasons of 10, and there was going to be a bonus episode that made season 2 10 episodes instead of 9. That was going to go between 2 and 3, but the writer's strike messed it up, and they wound up not being able to produce that one and folded it into the 3rd season.
That all sounds completely plausible, but I don't know about it. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's off to a good start. It's doing its exact same thing. You know, it's not like wildly changing the game or anything, but I'm having a blast with it. We also just did episode 1 of season 3 of White Lotus, which I'm also very happy with. Parker Posey is my queen and my icon. So I don't know. I'm having fun with some stuff.
I know that White Lotus is on the list of things that we know we definitely want to watch. It's one that it's another one where that and Euphoria and a few other shows were the minute I heard about them, the reviews were incredible. But by the 4th episode, the reviews were, what's happened? And the same thing happened with, what was it? Something Palms, Spring Palms?
Hidden Palms.
I'm trying to remember which one that was.
The Kristen Wiig show.
Oh, Palm Royale.
I love Palm Royale. The AV Club review of the season finale of season 1 was, this was such an insult to our intelligence. We are literally furious at this show. And I was like, that cannot possibly be true. But the critic aggregate score for the season finale of season 1 is 2 out of 10. Whereas the rest of the season is 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. And people are going to come back for season 2, and they're going to talk about it just as much. And I'm always so fascinated with these hot conversation shows, because I remember the same thing happening to Desperate, one of my favorite shows of all time, where week after week people were but what did we love about this? And then at the end everybody's let's celebrate it. Yellow Jackets is one that I am obsessively in love with the first 2 seasons. It's one that I wonder if I do better with space from.
That's fair. I mean, and I think it's a perfectly good one for one thing to just wait till the whole thing airs and maybe watch it once. But then also if you're doing that, wait longer. Wait until you're yeah, I super feel like seeing Yellow Jackets.
Though the balance is spoilers, and that is why we can't start Traders after 10 a.m. because I would see who went home. I would see who was banished. And with Traders, it's this thing where every week I'm afraid nope, this is that moment where Valentina takes off the mask and now I don't care who wins the season. Once Valentina takes off the mask, season 9 of Drag Race is no longer that much of a banger. And it's just kind of the truth. And
Yeah. And I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see with Yellow Jackets. I mean, Yellow Jackets still has a bunch of stuff to deal with and show us. I mean, one of my main questions, well, not mine, specifically everybody has this question, but one of the things that I really focus on, because I'm always obsessed with this in shows that do it, is is something supernatural going on? Or do they all just have mercury poisoning?
Right.
And so like there's things like that where I'm like, regardless of the fact that like maybe the quality will slip for any number of reasons, they, unless they do a really bad job of getting to those mysteries and giving those answers and everything, there's still a degree to which I'm going to enjoy it and have fun with it. Like I get kind of locked in, and to the point where like, you know, it makes me not the world's best reviewer, because I'm like, yeah, you know, I forgot to check out the quality of the show because I was just kind of paying attention to if I got the answers the way I wanted to. And I think this is definitely an example of a show where I kind of will be like that. I like you know, they've already done so much stuff that I like. As long as they keep doing it, I'll be happy. You know, I thought it was very brave to sacrifice one of the bigger name characters in the second season, who is an actor I really, really enjoy. Specifically because, you know, of course she's a big draw for people, and having to work without her is kind of gonna have the show really think about what makes it work more than just kind of actor attraction. And White Lotus did something very similar. You know, this one I feel a little more comfortable spoiling, but click away if you really can't hear it. But
oh,
you know,
I don't know. Thank you.
Oh, you don't want to hear it?
I don't, and I can't.
Oh,
leave.
okay.
No.
Sorry. Okay. Well, you know, they have, for one thing, they don't keep a lot of their actors anyway, because the cast changes. You know, they tell stories and the cast changes.
Right.
They tell single season stories and the cast changes. But there are crossover characters, and you know, they don't keep all of those all the time. And I think they made some really great choices in terms of like, this is going to tell the best story, but it means that we lose this particular actor.
Yeah.
And I always appreciate when shows are willing to do that, because you do kind of have to be able to provide more than like, oh, but you get to see your little fave.
And it's funny because contributor Tori is in the middle of watching the OC right now. She knows a ton of spoilers, so I'm not saying anything spoilery for her. But if anyone else wants to click away from almost 20-year-old spoilers, she knows what happens to Marissa.
Yeah.
And, you know, I, even as a young buck at the time of 21 years old, was like, yeah, it's sad, but that's a bold choice. And it's really funny that now, and for a long time since, Josh Schwartz has said, I wouldn't have done that. We should have kept her alive so she could come back. And the fact is, they pull most of their punches on that show, though. No one else really dies. Everyone has the open door to come back. So I wanted to bring that up in comparison of, yeah, I really agree. You know, it's sad that they could never see Marissa again. But it was a bold choice. It was significant. And it's a similar way in which a lot of shows don't take big swings like that. And so, yeah, you got to applaud them.
And, you know, I hear what Josh Schwartz is saying in terms of like, it might have been nice to be able to have her come back and all that. But also, like, especially by the time she left, we were not losing a lot with Marissa being gone.
Part of why he says he shouldn't have done it is because he fired her to be spiteful, to like teach her a lesson about Hollywood, and that was not his to do as somebody with less experience than her.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
However, I need to say something right now because it hit 2 minutes ago.
Okay.
Nashville big?
10 times bigger. In fact, the last time this happened, it was quite an amalgam.
Oh, God. What?
DC and Marvel will have their first crossover in 25 years later this year with a pair of one-shots, Marvel DC and DC Marvel. They are announcing it slowly in pieces, no information right now. There is just a single piece of art, and it is insane because 2 months ago, Marvel literally told us to hold our breath till we die. And DC was literally like, we would love to work with Marvel, but they're idiots and assholes. And now they are evidently revealing that this has been in the works for a hot minute. And we will be seeing the first Marvel DC crossover in 25 years.
So then my question becomes, was everybody play acting, or did Tom Brevoort not know what the deal was?
I genuinely wonder. Like, that is the thing that I'm starting to question. Like, are people bad? By the way, a 311 song was on at the gym this morning, so I had a reason to look at pictures of Nick Hexum.
Yeah,
They're still open on my phone for some reason.
it's no joke.
He's just the most, and he's so talented and such a good energy guy. Okay, Marvel DC crossover, and it's sooner than you think.
Sooner than you think.
It must be why they re-released those Omnis. Marvel publishes Marvel/DC, and DC publishes DC/Marvel. Editor-in-chief Marie Javins and CB Cebulski are both on hand at the Comics Pro Retailer Summit in Glendale on Friday, where they follow the keynote speech to announce the company-wide crossover taking place in 2 one-shots. Right now, the details are light on what they will entail. Details will be coming. However, this article goes out of its way to quote Brevoort saying Marvel isn't interested in doing crossovers.
Yeah, that's the one. That is the one.
The one and the two.
Kevo, I'm going to send you the image in case you can flash it up on the screen at some point.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, you can pull me down for a second. It's of course fine. Also, guys, I'm on a 4-win streak. This does not happen with me and Rivals lately because I'm just like not great.
I love that, dude. That's so great.
So, lucky night, everybody.
Lucky night.
I have the fortuitousness to have 100%ed Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
I'm almost done with Intergrade. I did the first Arkham game. I'm going to do the second Arkham game, go back and do Rebirth, do the third Arkham game. I'm just kind of feeling out being a PC gamer these days. It feels really good. It feels really sexy. It's really funny because I try to cultivate my personal online sphere, because something that like I do hear sometimes is when people are like, oh, just post it. Who cares? I have some friends that are like, yeah, I really wish I hadn't posted that dick pic. It cost me that Disney contract. It really did. That was literally, they even cited it. They said it to my face. They literally said, if your dick wasn't on so many websites. So I can't post that dick pic. So like, I try to cultivate my blue sky as best I can. And I took a photo today that I was like, I took the ultimate fat cop, right? Oh, fine. And so I didn't post it, but if you'd like to see it, just say, hey. But whole point of this,
was there a point to this story, Nico, or did you just want to get that in there?
I just want to get it off my chest. No, I try to cultivate my blue sky to push myself. Look at that amazing image. I try to cultivate. I really do love that image. It's so great. Because Daredevil's so big in the front. I try to pick the parts of my personality that when I show them, when I get to share those parts of myself, it still really captures who I am. And coming to realize how much gaming is such a part of who I am and how I see the world. Getting to connect with people through game soundtracks, game scores, game memes, the things that we love about battle systems, talking about games that are retired. Every time I mention that, like, one of the most influential things in my entire life is Shadow Hearts, somebody comes out of the woodwork with, oh my God, Kudelka! And we all agree that nobody should ever play the fourth game. And so there's something really interesting about the way when you feel like parts of yourself are off limits to expression, you explore other parts of yourself conceptually. And I've really enjoyed what having to have some thought control on my thoughtiness has led to, in terms of discovering the parts of myself I really like that are a gamer. And that it's been so in tune and so in sync with my further discovery of PC gaming. It's really been exploratory for me to like what I like about myself more, and that's been really cool.
I love that. I'm stoked that you are PC gaming. I'm really stoked because, like, one of the big things is you've gotten to play a bunch of games that you have talked about and been excited about, and it's always been one of those things where, like, originally I was saying to you, because I'm just not playing it that much, like, let me loan you my PS5. because that has all the Final Fantasy games in it, and then you could play 16 if you wanted to. And ultimately, you know, like there's just so much other stuff with PC gaming too that makes it worth it. And you know, having a really powerful PC also opens other options for you, of course, but like, yeah, I don't know. It's just a different zone. It's a different vibe. And I'm really, really happy that you're into it. I'm so happy that I'm super stoked that you've like gotten into Rivals and played Rivals and, you know, not had to just do controller play for that, which is a valid way to play, but a very different way to play.
It is not valid. I just want to be clear, as somebody who believes that all things are beautiful, that's ugly. Don't do it.
If you only have a console, it's valid. But
if you have a console, console yourself.
Very different gameplay style. But then, yeah, like, you know, the Final Fantasy games, that was something we have talked about for literally years. And I'm stoked that you are playing them now.
The other thing that like I'm really engaging with as a new modality is I'm cerebrally disconnected from what makes Final Fantasy popular right now. I am cerebrally disconnected from what makes I want to pick another franchise that I like without being too basic, but I guess Mario. I don't love what other people come to it for. My least favorite Mario game of the last 20 years is Odyssey.
Do a lot of people come to Mario for Odyssey?
People love the way that Mario always pushes boundaries in storytelling and gameplay for the spec limitations, what they're able to do.
Did you play Wonder?
Which one's Wonder?
The new one.
Not yet. I had to think about it. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think you did.
No, I'm like, wait, when did that one even come out?
This year, right? Or last year? Well, last year, 2024. I think it did.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. In my head, you know what? I kind of didn't give Wonder enough attention.
Why?
Because Nintendo made it really clear that this is an end of life cycle game. And I have such a weird relationship with end of life cycle games.
Dude, I really get it.
Because like, what was it? Was it Breath of the Wild is the end of life cycle, which is the end of life cycle Zelda that not enough people that I can't think of.
Well, Breath of the Wild is not. Well, so the weird thing about Breath of the Wild is it was the end of life cycle game for the Wii U, but they held it. And it was not out for the Wii U until it wasn't announced for the Wii U or anything until the Switch came out, but it was developed for the Wii U. And then when they realized the timing was going to work out for it to be on Switch, it became a Switch game.
Thank you so much for having the details. I also just want to say, hey, Peak Jonah. Hi, always,
Jonah.
Cutest boy in the world.
We love Jonah.
It's really tough because the other thing about end of life cycle games that always kind of stings my eyes a little bit is Final Fantasy VI is an end of life cycle game, but there could not be 7, 8, 9, 10 without 6.
6 is end of life cycle for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, it was the point at which they had already started to think about designing for discs.
Yeah,
and simply could not.
Yeah.
And so we sort of get into this point where like an end of life. So when we're talking about end of life cycle game, what we mean is a video game system is designed to strong, powerful specs for its era. But as that system gets older, a new system comes out. So let's say that the PS4 came out in, let me make up a new system. The NICO Action System 2 came out in 2024. The NICO Action System 3 is going to come out in 2028. But in between that, the KEVO Really system is going to release, iterations. And the TK Awesome Dental is going to release systems in between. And so each one of us is going to compel the other to upgrade our graphics, upgrade our processor, upgrade some spec. And you wind up in a race to constantly be new, constantly be visual, constantly be alive and vibrant in this scape. And so when you have a game that is end of life console, end of console life, end of cycle, what you're looking at is a game that represents a modality or a visual style that is dying, that is no longer the chief primary way to tell a story. And when you're talking about something like Persona, which I don't think a Persona game can look old as a result of the clean, brilliant line style that they use to design the characters. But I think about the way that Kingdom Hearts games are always designed to immediately look old, because Kingdom Hearts benefits from a retro feeling in a way that Persona benefits from slice of life every day you're living. And you can really see games that worry about end of cycle and don't worry about end of cycle. Persona will never worry about life cycle. Final Fantasy games, it's so obvious, man. Mario games, it's so obvious.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons I was not able to fully engage with Splatoon 3 for as long as I did with Splatoon 2, even though ultimately, unfortunately it wound up going longer, and I really should get back into it, is because it felt like at the time I was like, this is kind of the end of life cycle game for the system. And I sort of thought if I gave it a year, maybe two, that's when we would get the Switch 2 announcement, and it would sort of be a positive end of life thing. It would sort of be like, this was a great last hurrah, but like, of course, because of just very obvious natural things, it's not going to happen. Like Splatoon 3 is going to die maybe a little bit of an earlier death than it ought to have done, because the system is just changing, and that's got to be okay, because it has to happen, and we all do, of course, want a Switch 3 or want a Switch 2 to come out. So okay. But then they took so long with the Switch 2 announcement, and they really kept Splatoon 3 going when I really didn't think they would. But also, like, it is not a third game. It's really, or it's not, it's not the next upgrade of the game. It is additional story kind of, and additional content of the format established in the second one in a way that isn't bad at all. But it just like, I just was not expecting anything to go the way that it did. And it ended up making it just, I don't know. I was just so reticent to engage with the game.
And a part of what I think winds up happening is like Splatoon suffers from Florence and the Machine syndrome.
Oh, no.
Every Splatoon game winds up being some very similar from earlier the episode I was talking about.
Yeah.
Winds up being some very similar version of the last game. Having all three on my Switch, I can say like they all feel very familial.
You don't have Splatoon 1 on your Switch.
No, I do. Oh, no, I have it. You're right. I don't have it on my Switch. You're right.
Yeah.
You're correct. It's not on my Switch. My apologies. I don't know.
I've never seen you bust out your Wii U.
Well, that's because I don't have to bust it out if it's in the closet. It's one of those things like I have every Portal game.
Yeah.
I've played Portal. I've loaded Portal 2. I have tons of games that sit in closets.
Yeah.
And that's even part of it. Like, how much? Like, honestly, how much of Final Fantasy VII Remake have you played? Like,
I mean, I played a lot, but then I was talking to you about it, and I did not get, I think, nearly as close to the end as I thought I did.
And so that's even what I'm talking about. Like, I don't think you're not a Final Fantasy VII fan or a Final Fantasy VII.
Oh no, I loved it.
But like, so have I played my copy of Splatoon 1 on the Wii U? No, not at the moment. Have I watched hours of gameplay? Yeah. Have I checked the soundtrack 1,000 times, and have I played 2 and 3 extensively? And that's even part of the conversation that winds up being necessary to the art of gaming. There are so many people that say to me that they are like the biggest Mario fan in the world. They've never played 7 Stars. They've never played. Well, at this point, I feel like a lot of people have gotten to play a number of the like Sunshine era games as a result of re-releases. But like, I don't think you came for me. Like, I don't think you were trying to like Susie Toot humiliate me on air. I'm looking.
Oh
at
no,
each
I was literally just saying you didn't play it on the Switch because it didn't come out on the Switch.
But like, there are too many people that are like, well, you didn't, so and like, it's always one of those things where I feel the art of game is so different than the art of TV, than the art of music. Like, if you're a Tori Amos fan, there's the records, then there's the singles, there's the sheet music. You can get weird about the tours and the videos, and then you're done. You can maybe be like really prissy about the Light Princess and the upcoming children's book and maybe the camera. I've named everything. We're out of it. Do you like Mario? Okay, well, soundtracks, TV shows, movies, multiple movie canons, multiple game canons on over a dozen systems, over 150 games, multiple iterations of some games. I was watching an incredible comparison side by side to the Master System and Sega versions of Sonic 1. And how I've actually played both because the Master System version was available on the Wii and I still have my Wii hooked up. And so I play that. That's even kind of like why I was kind of like, no, I do have my old systems hooked up. I have my Wii hooked up so I can play my virtual console.
Yes,
because there were
I've seen your Wii is there.
Yeah, and like I care about game preservation to such a point that there's this level where like I feel we are sometimes at a loss for things because like I will forever miss being able to do the lightning dodges in Final Fantasy X because controller timing used to be slower. Kevo, one time you said to me that you had no idea that everybody thought that Superman 64 was absolutely the limp dick during sex of video games. And it turns out if you had just read the manual, you would have known because the manual literally says everything's fuzzy, hazy, and the controls are bad because of kryptonite fog, making the game hard to play.
Oh my god.
What the fuck? And like the levels to which we lose the conversation. And so there are people that are like, that game is just terrible. What you don't realize is that, yes, the game was terrible, but like the conversation around it is bigger. And so like there is a reason to preserve some of this. Something I'm actually really sad about is I was watching a video of the changes from Rivals 1 to Rivals 1.5 season-wise. I don't mean to be like the weirdest, but I'm a preservationist and I would love to see a complete history of Rivals changes. TK, have any of the Rivals changes affected your gameplay, your game style, or anything you've noticed?
No, because I take a very long time to develop whatever my personal meta is going to be because I've gotten so used to games doing so much balancing, and this one had so much to prove so early, so often, because it did need to kind of beat the shit out of Overwatch. So I'm kind of in a zone of just like, it's all education for me at this point, because I'm really hoping this is going to be a years-long endeavor for me. I mean, like I do kind of like say it, but like I really, what I invested emotionally and like belief wise and like what I thought the world was going to be regarding Overwatch was probably too much. But I thought that I thought Overwatch was essentially going to become football. Like I really, as far as an esport goes, and not that I ever thought that I was going to be a pro football player, a pro Overwatch player, but like I thought that there were, leagues of amateur professional, leagues of, and still for this game, like I still really want to see a queer league start. But my investment is always really deep. So I always appreciate those histories as well, because they really do show you how the devs have been rethinking the characters and how the various meta plays have affected how people use the characters. But for me, I stay so focused on fundamentals that it winds up being a while before I really notice that stuff.
And the thing that I find myself often thinking about is re-releases more than updates,
Yeah.
which makes it so tough because, like, for me, I don't know. I love a good card battle system. I
Yeah.
think Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts, or Midnight Suns. I love a card battle system. This is a way I enjoy playing games because I often think of writing X-Men. Like, if you're writing Jean Grey, you are writing some version of the telekinetic attack, some version of the telepathic attack, some version of the Phoenix Fire attack, but you're always playing some level of the Jean Grey spell. Whether it's the 4 card, the 5 card, or the 10 card, you're playing the fire card or the TK card, etc. And so for me, adapting my gameplay to cards is always super fun because I love card games. I love Magic the Gathering. For those of you who don't know, I spent my early 20s dating a young man who it was quite dramatic, but I will say this about that fiery, very aggressive power bottom. He put up with the fact that my Friday nights from 6 to 10 p.m. I definitely knew how to play Magic so well that I was a Magic the Gathering tournament judge for 2 years, and I have played Magic the Gathering for 20 something years, and I am still very current. I have read over 100 Magic the Gathering novels.
Oh my God.
As your partner of 18 years, I would like to contest the idea that he put up with anything. I would have happily supported that. So, bitch can screw.
I still have my original. I still have my original cards. I had for those of you who know what I'm talking about, I had the 4th edition brown box, and so I am quite a Magic the Gathering guy. So when there's 2 things that I keep really secret and embarrassed about. There used to be 3, and the third one was DC Comics, but these 2 men were like, if you don't let that freak flag fly. So I had this boss, and she was so great, and she was I've had 3 bosses that I think are like grail. My current boss, who is so wonderful, my 2 bank bosses, and one of them was this amazing woman named Marie, who, like, I swear to God, into a fire for this woman. And she was like, Nico, can I tell you? And I was like, what do you want to tell me, Marie? And she was like, I just found out something. And I'm like, what'd you find out, Marie? She was one of those, like, super awesome, like my Aunt Mimi Italian ladies from Brooklyn. And she goes, it's not let your free flag fly. And I'm like, no, Marie, it's not. And she's like, it's like freak flag? And I'm like, yes, sweetheart, it is. And I'm like 24 and she's like 45. And her son is the hottest man alive. And
you never stop learning.
He's like 24, so please don't think
or
I'm being
hot.
And he's an educator, which is even better. But I'm like, no, dear, it's let your freak flag. And she's like, oh my God, I put that in a toast at somebody's wedding. I said, and let your free flag fly. And everybody just looked at me, and now I know why. And I was like, no, Marie.
Why at a wedding would a free flag need to fly? What's happening?
Well, if she didn't think the word was freak, she would think it was appropriate. Free sounds beautiful. Freak does sound inappropriate. Oh,
why do we need a free flag?
Why would no one say anything to her after that? You know, that's the kind of thing that I would hear on a TV show. And I would say, why wouldn't anyone say something to her at that toast? But they didn't. It still took more time after that. So fiction is real.
I just want to say she's amazing. What a great boss. I know there was a great reason I brought this up. Letting your free flag fly. I'm sure there was a good reason.
I don't know. Great anecdote, though.
I've had the longest day at work. I thought I was signing out at like noon, and then I worked till like 5:30. So I've had a long day.
She do work.
The big thing that I am really thinking about with game preservation more and more is that the version of the game you played is kind of more marketably point-toable than the version of the book you read, or the version of the show you watched, or the version of the movie you saw. there's something unique about games that I feel like nothing else can even come close to approaching. When you see a movie, the slight changes, if they edit a scene slightly or they change a little bit of dialogue, those little changes are what it is. Jonah was explaining to me why there was a really terrible moment in an episode of Drag Race for ADR where it was revealed that somebody said Chipotle, and they certainly can't come for a brand, and they had to change it to after Mexican food to make it, generic. And those changes, when they're all anyone knows, are fine. But like, I will never forget seeing Eddie Cibrian's erection in a pair of boxers and thinking to myself, my God, I'm gayer now. And then every subsequent airing of Surface, they video corrected it because they got complaints. And like, that is one of those things where there was never a Chipotle version of the Drag Race moment, but there was the holy shit moment of that episode of Surface. Video games, because there are 135 hours of footage to go through, those Surface episode moments break through so much more regularly. And, they're certainly not quite as lascivious because you can't accidentally capture a dude looking way too hot on camera in a video game for the most part. But those changes go on to create fandom moments. They go on to be the calm incident. You know what I mean?
And, it's funny because the one thing I can think of that I think kind of compares and it proves your point, because this doesn't happen with other media a lot, but one example that's very relevant, especially to you right now, Stephen King changing the Gunslinger.
Those changes are quite noticeable in that first book, which is different by like 30,000 out of 67,000 words.
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately, if you have read the rest of the series and you've read the first Gunslinger one time, I feel that, I don't know, it's a weird thing. My commitment to the original Gunslinger is that I think the audiobook narrator is the better one, and he reads the first four, but NICO knows this. I'm explaining it for the audience.
And me.
I love listening to you, so you can always repeat as much as you want.
Well, thank you. So my commitment to the original Gunslinger is for the audiobook narrator. And so it is why I've read the first one, the revised first one, so that I know all the references. And then every time I reread it, I can read the original and kind of get there myself, even though he did go back because he didn't know he was going to have this multiverse. He didn't know that he was going to have this enormous magnum opus project that he was kind of going to need to explain a lot of stuff about. So he does revise. He does do, basically kind of a video game style update remake. We didn't have the technology to do this the way we wanted, so we did it this weird way, and now we're doing it finally the way that we wanted. It doesn't happen a lot, but that book feels a lot like a video game in how it relaunched.
And there's a lot to be discussed about the nature of video games when it comes to artists like Bjork or Tori Amos, or I guess the divas. One of the things is I had a conversation one time with another Chad, right? I've talked about him a lot. My gay daddy Chad. I've ever had two men who were like, I'm not going to let you call me daddy, but I'm going to tell you everything to think. And one of them was this comic book virtuoso named Chad. And one of the great benefits of having somebody who has read everything you want to read before you, and who has engaged with so much fiction before you, is Chad was there when, Dark Phoenix Saga was literally coming out. He was way too young to be active with it, but by Rogue Public Enemy #1. He was totally involved in the fandom and was going to comic shops, going to conventions. And he grew up with these stories. And so his take on them is so from the perspective of somebody who lived it. He talks to me about having lived in England when Little Earthquakes came out and was literally like a revolutionary and like doing like he lived in Invisible's life in the UK, traveling through Europe when Little Earthquakes came out. And when he looks at those songs and he lives that moment, he talks to me about hearing the analog of the tape, the crunch of the cassette, and remembering what it was like to buy Jane Child's album on cassette and what that meant to him. And I remember going to where did I buy it? I guess I bought it at Target in Menlo Park Mall. When the Little Earthquake special edition came out and along with Under the Pink. And I said to him, I don't know that I will ever find another version of Little Earthquakes that really satisfies that earworm, but like this alternate track listing is so powerful for me. And he was like, it's like listening to it from another timeline because this record is so preserved. And this other version, these mixes are different. They involve different track lengths. They double choruses. They have things omitted. They have instruments missing. She has new vocals added in that were found in the masters that weren't highlighted in the produced versions. And it's listening to it from another timeline. And when I play Final Fantasy VII and I play Final Fantasy VII Remake, I have the exquisite, unique opportunity to hear what it's like. What if Tori didn't just re-record Little Earthquakes, a few tracks here and there for things like Tales of a Librarian and Gold Dust, but what if she truly re-recorded that alternate track listing of Little Earthquakes, beginning to end, with the knowledge, the wisdom of a woman who had produced 13 incredible records? That is something that I just feel, video games are just about the only thing in the world that pays that kind of tribute to art. And I feel like that is one of the biggest mistakes because I think every artist is better for what they've learned. If you want to hear somebody grow up, go pick up Butterfly Bowser, do Butterfly Bowser, Flutterby, and Flutterby at 10, and then go pick up Reese, do How I Do, and How I Do at 20. 2 incredible records of complete re-records beginning to end with the wisdom of growing up in mind.
Thank you for that incredibly lengthy defense of one of my favorite things, which is reboots, remakes, and all of those things. That is genuinely why I'm always saying, there's a million and one reasons why those things are not always worth scoffing at. Weirdly, the one that always comes first to my brain is the Rugrats that we got again, because I am always blown away by the fact that it's the original Nicktoons producers and creators. They're the ones that wanted to make Phil and Lil's mom a lesbian. They're the ones that wanted to elevate Susie's status this time around. Like, they came back and wanted to do this thing. It doesn't always go well when people come back and do more or want to reboot their thing. But, there's, I that's why I love things like that, because, yeah, exactly. So many of these things you get to see in so many different versions and takes and concepts, especially as art and the means to produce art evolves.
And, for me, my version of this, the thing that I would actually really like to get remade that never has, is A Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I got as close as probably I think I'm ever going to get. Oh, did everything just freeze for me? Yeah. Oh no.
Oh no, we can hear you though.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Unreal crashed. Okay. Fuck, I'm gonna get a report on my account because I left a game. Because guys, I don't know if you saw this, but I left a game because there was a Trump person with the name Trump 47 in it, and I refused to play with them.
Oh yeah.
Good. You make me really proud.
I hate that
Okay,
he ruined
so
that number.
I'm just gonna stick like this because if I close out of OBS, you will lose me entirely. But I'm gonna finish this point and then we will wrap for the night because we gotta go get ready for Drag Race. Yeah, so my dream for that would be Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. You know, they have with games like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I think they have finally realized the dream of Zelda in the same way that like Final Fantasy finally realized the dream of Final Fantasy with the remakes of 7. My one thing is when Skyward Sword came out and they released the symphonic 25th anniversary disc that had a lot of the music played by a full orchestra. I finally got to hear the theme and the music, the suite of music from Link to the Past performed that way. And I remember I was driving with my partner, Jake. We were driving down the main coast and it played. And I was just inconsolably sobbing because that's how I hear when I was a kid, when I was 6 years old and I bought Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past for the first time and played it in my Super Nintendo. That's what the music sounded like to me. It was just a 16-bit sound chip on the Super Nintendo, but I could hear what Koji Kondo was doing and what this game was trying to do, being an epic fantasy, sort of Western style, European aesthetic fantasy, and how the music was translating into that. And even though it's just the 16-bit chip, Koji Kondo composed a soundtrack that could be played by an orchestra, and then produced it on a 16-bit sound chip to the best of his ability, so it would sound like that. And so your beautiful little child imagination could make that happen. And I'm so glad I got the years of that being in my head, and I got to exercise my child imagination making it sound that way. But holy hell, was it exciting to hear an orchestra do it, and to finally like have that moment of now we don't have to wait. And I had a similar kind of version of that moment when Skyward Sword came out, and you had really the best, at that point for sound in consoles, it was no longer a thing where you were like kind of having to compress and maybe not use full sound. So like the Skyward Sword soundtrack is just like an orchestra the whole time. And Twilight Princess didn't really give us that. So anyway, that is kind of my experience of that phenomenon of finally getting to see my thing translated. And my dream really would be just to see Link to the Past like be get the same map or get the same thing as Breath of the Wild got. But the cute little chibi Echoes of Wisdom and Link's Awakening version has been a fine update, and I love what they're doing with that. And again, it's just cool that the technology is there to kind of let people live out their fantasy. So that's what I have to say about that.
I was commenting to NICO earlier that I think it's funny how I think a lot of younger generations these days, not to be whippersnappers about it, but like sometimes they're a little spoiled. I saw a reel recently that was making fun of the CWCG for the CW verse, and watching Ghost Whisperer, the fact that all of us grew up on Buffy, that we grew up on Twin Peaks, we remember Dark Shadows. You don't know what bad CG looks like, and I'm sorry, but I think probably anything that I would see on the DC CW verse, it probably looks amazing compared to a lot of what we had to put up with in the 90s. Yep. And like you said, we had to sort of go with it and use our own imagination. And so we're very grateful for how amazing so much of television looks today, whereas a lot of people who that's all they know get to be spoiled. And you should have to use your imagination a little bit more. It's fun. It's fun watching Ghost Whisperer with what they had in that in-between period in the 2000s.
And so I've been having that same experience with Warehouse 13, I told you guys.
Yeah, that's right. That's so fun.
Yeah. How funny. A different Eddie, but...
Ooh, yeah. Eddie McClintock, we love him.
Yeah.
Eddie McClintock is one of those things where, like, he is a nexus of beautiful man that I don't feel like ever got his fair shake in success. It's like, we started this whole thing by talking about eras of comics that don't exactly get the proper love. Next Wave is one of the most influential super comics of all time by a writer who should be kicked in the head by an artist who everyone has copied their entire career since they came onto the scene. Who, by the way, Stuart Immonen is a brilliant artist. Catherine Immonen is a legendary writer who I know that her work winds up being a little out there and a little big picture, but there is not a person on Runaways who has not copied Catherine Immonen's Runaways like verbatim since it happened. I am such a fan. Her Hellcat also spectacular. I don't know. I just feel like, we have these little Friday broadcasts where we have these little everybody gets online and just hangs out at their little secret peach pit place. And I'm obviously a Brandon. TK is the Dylan, and Kevo is the Brenda. And you
can say I'm Donna or David.
No, you're Brenda because she's my favorite.
Okay.
I'm not even sure you are a Brenda, but Brenda is my favorite. So
I see a lot of David. I would go a lot of David.
Do you know why? I actually just want to be weird and say he's sort of like a sexual male Andrea.
I get it. She got shit done.
If Andrea was a twink. Yeah, no,
Andrea.
If Andrea was Billy from Power Rangers instead of a girl, would have cleaned up. Yeah, no, you're right.
She was so capable of moving the story forward. And that's even kind of like part of the conversation that we're having. Something that is so recurrent through all of our discussions is characters that move the story forward and how that shapes the way we interact with the story. I think that with Final Fantasy XIII, Snow was meant to be the main character, but Lightning is the character that went on to define the franchise. Obviously, Cloud defines Final Fantasy VII, but Zack, Reno, Sephiroth, Hojo, even Heidegger, like these minor side characters that would go on to define the fandom in so rude, like Elena, these Vincent, Yuffie. It's so important to think about the fact that we are often told that what we're going to enjoy is what it is, but I don't see Cyclops in Marvel Rivals, and I feel like I've always been told that Cyclops is the character that I can rely on.
Iconic, yeah.
How long did it take to get the Fantastic Four? Honestly, would it have been that hard to include one member of the Fantastic Four at launch? Because then you could have included, I don't know, Doctor Doom or Mole Man or somebody when you release the Fantastic Four as a pack. So, there is something to be said about where the thing we didn't talk about that we did this whole episode, play Marvel Rivals, it is truly defining of things like, TK, we had this slightly romantic conversation about Marvel vs. Capcom earlier this week, where we've talked about that we're going to play some classic, some classic Marvel and DC games, because things like Superman 64, as much as it frustrated the incredibly handsome Kevo, and as much as things like Next Dimension aren't the greatest X-Men game of all time, these went on to define how we engaged with fandom. I think there's an entire generation of people who think to themselves, I would kill half the people I met on Thanos, who have never read a Thanos comic in their life, but go ahead and make a 4chan username based on the fact that they saw that movie and played Marvel vs. Capcom in 1999. TK, it's so hard to know if you're with us because you're frozen.
Oh, I'm totally with you. Point made.
Cool. All right. I want to get out of here so that I can go watch Susie Toot sweep
Tootsie
the floor.
Scooter.
What is it?
Tootsie Scooter.
Tootsie Scoots. Tootie Scooter.
Tootsie Scooter. Kelly Mantle, I love you.
Kelly Mantle, listen to me. You are Melly Cantle until you
NICO
apologize. No, I think what I love about Susie Toot is Susie Toot really is I don't know. She's Final Fantasy Tactics as a person. She's what if the cool popular stuff was slightly wrong, and it was popular anyway? Big fan. You know, TK, something you do that I have never done on this show is I have never taken the opportunity to be as vulnerable as to play live on air. And for you to take the opportunity to play live on air for us is really cool. So thank you so much. What is it about Marvel Rivals that keeps you coming back 7 days a week, that you had that 7-day streak when you were streaming live for us?
You know, it's that thing I was talking about earlier. I'm obsessed with esports. All I want to be able to do is go to a bar and watch not football. I just want to watch something that I like. And so like, I like the culture. I like the idea of nerds getting to participate in their own way in great American traditions. And I love hero shooters. I think they're super fun. I love the team dynamics. I love everything about it. And I'm not good, and I'm not ever aspiring to be. You know, all my little bloom fees. I know so many of these little gays that are so much better than I am, and are all making, you know, diamond and grandmaster and competitive. And I love that. I mean, you know, I have fun with it. I'm doing my own thing. It's that and posting my workouts on Heavy. Those are my two, you know, super vulnerable, you know, people really are able to compare themselves to you when you do this stuff.
Until I see that Heavy is not owned by a Nazi, I just can't join it.
Is it?
I just haven't seen who it's owned by.
Okay.
I have not seen who's getting my data, who owns it, who gets it. Until I know for sure who I'm signing up for, I just can't.
Fair.
Because I have signed up for far too many services that have been like, oh no, ultimately, I just wanted to get your DNA. No. Anyway, so until we come back to get post-verbal like Mariah Carey on Caution, it is so explosive. I have had an incredible time just kind of like letting go of the week, melting away, enjoying a Friday with this crew. One of the things that's so fascinating is, like I've said, you know, we've seen some incredible growth on this channel here on YouTube, and we are so grateful for it. We love everybody who joins into this unbelievable pack. But one of the things that's crazy is, like, we never want to let go of our podcast market, which is a totally different group of people, a totally different audience. So it is always so exciting to get to do these episodes that, like, they're for people in particular. So thank you so much for listening, being a part of it, and we love you.
Yeah, thanks,
we love
everyone.
our little listeners.
We also love our medium listeners and our big listeners. Whatever size listener you are, we love you.
Yeah,
true.
But Kevo,
me,
you work so hard making draft videos and making this show work so well. And you're about to put up with me screaming for 90 minutes about how I'm going to marry Susie Toot and how much I miss Crystal Envy and how Anya Nerve is the most important person in Coldplay. So
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say until Anya Nerve sings Trouble.
Remind me for the millionth time what tonight's challenge is.
Rusical.
Oh, that'll be fun. Oh, right. It's going to be Wizard of Oz. Oh, that's exciting. Yay.
I heard you scream that from the other room. That was so exciting.
That's so funny. The Rusical is good. I'm excited that it's going to be 10 people because that is always interesting. It's going to be chaotic. It'll be fun. We'll see. I hope this is one of those ones where the Rusical is at least like 15 minutes of the show.
This many people, unless you're doing Les Mis and putting everybody at the barricade, there isn't room.
No. But then we're going to have something to say about it on Sunday. So come check that out. Come check us out. We're going to have so much to say this upcoming year. In a few weeks, we see the return of Grey's Anatomy, which we are so stoked to start covering. NICO and I are stoked to start covering 911. We are thrilled to learn that they have just announced their newest spinoff. So we'll cover that later this year. We just learned about the new season of Jury Duty because I'm looking at our cover from Ranger Duty where we covered the 30th anniversary special.
They lied about when they were going to film the second season of Jury Duty so nobody would know, and it was secretly at an office retreat. It has been fully filmed, and Amazon Studios separately signed a 3-season deal with Gladden to make sure that his voice stayed cool.
Honestly, Office Retreat, I didn't even think of something like that. So that shows me that they are still thinking on their toes of ways that they can do this creatively. So I am stoked. So, we'll cover it probably. Who knows? We say that and then we don't. But maybe we will. And then we say we won't and we do anyway. So, You never know what we're going to do. We're crazy. So check out all of our fun stuff. And you can find me at KEVO Really.
TK, other than playing Rivals and being the coolest Frozen guy on this screen, where can everybody find you?
You can find me at TK Accidental on basically just Blue Sky. I really do need to quit Twitter. Every time I go to do it, somebody new follows me, but I'll be leaving there soon. But TK Accidental, Blue Sky, find me there. Find me playing Rivals, find me playing other games, playing a lot of Balatro. You can't really play me with that, but I'm having fun with it. So anyway, find me there. Nico, where can everybody find you?
You guys can message me privately and I'll send you that photo for FCF. You guys can check out my SoundCloud and my music over on YouTube Music at NICO Action Music. That's NICOACTIONMUSIC. If you guys want to check me out, just me being me, showing my vulnerable side, just ghost whispering by myself. You guys can check me out at NICO Action. That's NICOACTION, where I am the biggest Melinda stan you can imagine. God, I love her so much with gratitude. But if you guys want to do something really cool, and I mean like super cool, you guys can check out the coolest feeds on all of the internet. You guys can check out Husbands Talking More or Less. That's HTML, X is for podcast, or X is for show, where these guys and myself cover comics, TV, musicals, music, movies, and more. I love getting to talk about games, but games is just the tip of the iceberg with us. You guys can like, comment, and subscribe on all of those feeds. If you want more information, check out the incredible link trees linked in the chat. So many vowel sounds. But 3 things you guys can do for us that are for you. Number 1, you guys can stay safe. It's a crazy world out there. Number 2, you guys can be brave, because we love you. We don't just want fans, we want you as our fan. But then 3 things you guys can do for yourself. Number 1, stay who you were yesterday, stay who you are today, and remember to evolve daily into who you're going to be tomorrow, because we think it's amazing and we can't wait to see you then. So check you out Sunday.
Bye.